has to be one of the best views from a hotel room I've ever been lucky enough to experience. Hello one and all, welcome to Seeing Through Glass. Welcome back to Monaco. Now, if you've been watching my recent videos, it's probably a little bit confusing that I'm back here once again because a few videos ago I picked up my GT3 down in Monte Carlo and left. But I'm back because, well, I'm bringing you back in time. As the title suggests, I'm here to drive the new Aston Martin DB12, and when you drive a new car, often the manufacturer doesn't allow you to publish the video immediately. So I've had to wait, but hopefully it's going to be worth it. I'm going to find out today. In real time, I haven't driven the car yet, so I have no idea what's ahead for me. But yeah, by the time it's a bit confusing when I time travel via YouTube. Anyway, long story short, welcome to Monaco. I'm here with Aston Martin, and we're going to be driving a DB12. The Aston Martin DB12 is obviously the latest in the long line of flagship DB GT cars from Aston Martin. However, the big difference, they aren't actually calling this a GT car. It's no longer a Grand Tourer apparently, but instead the world's first Super Tourer. So an ST. I guess we'll find out what that means throughout today's experience. Now, outside, I have to admit, it does look a bit like a DB11 and a DBS had an incestuous relationship, but in the flesh, it has all the style and presence you would want from an Aston Martin, and in my opinion, it's a really good-looking car. But for me, the standout and most exciting part is the all-new interior. Now, I'm a big fan of Aston Martin, I always have been, but as much as I've loved their cars, they've always been a bit of a letdown when it comes to their interiors, in terms of design and technology. They've just always felt 5 or 10 years behind the competition. But look at this all-new interior for the DB12, which includes Aston's very own brand new infotainment system, which they built from the ground up. I have to say, it makes the DB12 a very nice place to sit, which is good because I'm going to be spending all day behind the wheel. This is a traditional press drive, meaning there are a number of other journalists and creators attending, but luckily I have a car to myself. Aston have given us a pre-selected driving route, which includes some great roads, but more importantly for me, a great coffee stop and lunch. So let's get cracking. Well, I've been in the car for 20 or 25 minutes now. The first part of today's route is pretty much all motorway. I feel like I'm already figuring out what a Super Tourer is, because this car feels frenetic. The DB11 is always a bit lethargic. It was good, it was fast, it was a comfortable wafter, it kind of hid its performance. This thing shouts about its performance. It just always feels ready to go. I'm in like the most basic startup mode, GT mode, automatic gearbox setting. I haven't turned anything on or up. But if I stamp the accelerator pedal, yeah, it just wants to take off. It drops gears. Well, just touch any of the inputs and the car's like, okay. And I guess that's the super element, right? Like supercar tourer. It's the super performance with the touring capabilities, and they are still very good touring capabilities. Like I've been loving. I got the music on and super nice, but just
after 1 kilometer, keep right to take the exit.
Thank you. Yeah, if you you can't forget basically that there's a load of performance and potential ability lurking somewhere. Anyway, as you just heard, I've got to turn off the motorway now. About 10 kilometers from the coffee stop. I think after that, it's pretty much all back roads where we're going to be able to switch things up and I guess exploit even more. I mean, if this is GT mode, I'm quite scared about Sport and Sport Plus. Well, this is a pretty stunning spot for coffee. I mean, this trip, luxurious is an understatement, but it's not a mistake by Aston Martin. They're really aiming this car at the super high-end, ultra-luxury kind of part of the market, and they're expecting to attract, or hoping to attract, clientele that would frequent the Maybon Riviera Hotel and then probably own a chateau like this, and it is very nice. The last time I remember a car being pushed this hard in the kind of luxury segment was the original Bentley Continental GT. I remember watching loads of programs going, oh, it's for the super wealthy, high net worth individual. Then loads of football players bought it. Which, hey, that's no bad thing. I'm not judging football players, but let's see what happens with this DB12. But yeah, I have to say, I'm loving this experience, and I can't wait to spend a bit more time behind the wheel to figure out more about this car. But yeah, let's check out the coffee. Hold on. I don't feel like the French nail the coffee, but it will do, as will this view. Right, enough farting around, drinking coffee and hanging out in nice chateaus. Let's go and do some driving. We have got 60 kilometres, I believe, to lunch, over an hour.
And then you will reach your waypoint.
She's getting a little bit annoying, I might have to turn her off. But yeah, anyway, we've got about an hour. The road should get super picturesque and super dynamic. And we're going to continue to experience this car. Well, boys and girls, welcome to the famous Route Napoleon. The route here hasn't actually been that fantastic. I got caught in a lot of traffic, but I don't really care about that now because look at this road, and there's not a car in sight for now at least. This DB12 is doing things that I don't think any front-engine GT car should be able to do. It is so poised. I am just absolutely throwing it around corners with total confidence, and it is complying. I need to check the actual weight of this car, but it doesn't feel super heavy, which could be some very clever work from Aston Martin to hide what is probably actually quite a high number when it comes to its curb weight. But yeah, okay, the power is there. I mean, the power doesn't surprise me. I knew it was going to be a quick car. It feels responsive. We already talked about how even on the motorway it felt ready to fly. But it's the balance through the corners. I don't absolutely love the steering feel, but it goes where I want it to go. And this has got the optional carbon ceramic brakes, which are just a little bit reassuring. And yeah, I mean, look at this. Look, planting. I mean, that is a joke. That is brilliant. Oh, I love a GT car, hence my obsession with the F-Type. But they often let themselves down because it's very hard to make a super dynamic and engaging GT car just because of the way it's set up and the fact that you kind of want to do some cruising in it and all that kind of stuff. This has somehow managed to buck that trend. Boy, oh boy, have they just figured out how to make this thing absolutely fly. It's actually a little bit, it's a bit, it's a bit unnerving. I'm going hell for leather in this car, and it is absolutely ace. Wow. I mean, that was sport mode, by the way. That wasn't even sport plus. Ah! We can turn things up another level. Maybe I'll just take a breather for 2 seconds and enjoy these views, because they're pretty spectacular views. And yeah, as you can see, I was starting to get quite carried away there. So I think you can tell I was quite impressed with how the DB12 performed on the Route Napoleon. Like, really impressed. But I shouldn't have really been shocked, as this is the direction that Aston Martin have told us they're going in. The DB12 is a super important car for Aston Martin. It represents not only the start of the next generation, it's going to be followed up by, I guess, a new Vantage, a new DBS, etc. But this shift towards best-in-class performance and best-in-class luxury. Before we got in the cars this morning, Aston Martin showed us a presentation where they said they wanted this car to be as dynamic as a 911 Turbo S, but as luxurious as a Bentley Continental GT. And they want all their cars to fill this space between Ferrari, McLaren, Lamborghini, etc., and Rolls-Royce and Bentley. And that's not an easy thing to do because by nature, comfortable, leather-filled GT cars don't perform like stripped-out, focused sports cars. But Aston think they can find a middle ground, and I have to say, they might have done just that with this car. Now, for me, the obvious rival is the Ferrari Roma, and it's been a while since I've driven one of those cars in anger. From memory, it's, I guess, a little bit lighter on its feet, but also a bit more squirrely because of it. The DB12 is so planted, the grip is phenomenal, and the confidence the car gives you is just fantastic. It makes driving to lunch at pace in the middle of the French countryside pretty darn pleasurable. Well, you joined me a few hours later. Just had an absolutely delicious lunch at another French chateau, and I'm going to continue down this road in a second, which I'll tell you about afterwards. Because first off, I want to show you around this interior. I've been banging on about it for most of the video, and now I need to give you a bit of a tour because I mean, look at this thing. I think they've hit it out the park with this new interior, all new interior, new steering wheel, new digital dash, new sort of cascading central console, all new infotainment system. This has not been bought from Bosch or any other sort of supplier. It's been built by Aston Martin, and so we might see some of this, or we probably will see some of this in future models, but for now it's brand new, and I think it's bloody marvelous. And now, important to say that this is a pre-production model. The software itself apparently has had a number of upgrades since these cars were made, and will probably be refined even further before the customer deliveries, I think in Q3 this year. So yeah, this system, it's not as razor sharp as they want it to be, or they're planning for it to be. So you'll notice some of the roads sometimes a bit laggy and things like that, but they are saying, look, trust us, that's not the final version, but you can get an idea, I guess, of what it's going to look like. Apparently Aston Martin aimed to replicate sort of smartphone devices. They didn't look at other infotainment systems. They went, well, let's just copy things like iPads and iPhones, because that's what we all use, what comes naturally to us. So yeah, it's pretty easy to navigate. You can hit the car up here. You can go through your assistants like your adaptive cruise control. You get some pretty good telemetry. You can customize your individual driving mode. For music, you can go between radio, Apple CarPlay, which will be wireless Apple CarPlay. Navigation, we've actually been using the sat-nav for the entire day, and it's been pretty good, actually, to be honest, apart from the woman's slightly annoying voice, but that's a personal thing. It seems to have worked great, and then the big old home button. So yeah, I mean, fine, absolutely fine. The thing that I love, though, is this, because buttons. Of course, everyone in the world going touchscreen, but I often bemoan the fact that we can go too far when it comes to touchscreen. I mean, the Roma car I mentioned earlier, everything is done by this sort of haptic touch steering wheel. I absolutely despise it. Here, Aston Martin have been clever enough to keep some functional and traditional buttons. For example, look at these rockers for the air conditioning. It means when you're driving, you can focus on the road, just kind of feel your way down here to some of the controls. You don't have to get distracted. If it's in the touchscreen, you're endlessly sort of looking down here and you're not looking at the road. So yeah, great that they've got buttons for the sports exhaust, the suspension. You can just feel your way around, whilst I say still focusing. But everything's so nice to touch. All of these aircon vents, all the leathers, it all feels just expensive and luxurious. You've got a few more switches on the steering wheel for your adaptive cruise control, for the actual digital display there. This is kind of like a Mercedes-esque rocker switch. So even though they've gone for their own infotainment system, they have copied some ideas from others. You can change the view of this digital dash, what you're looking at. There you go, the kind of the navigation set. That changes ever so slightly with your driving mode. So if I go back to GT, you can see the colours change and right compass. So, you know, it's everything you would expect and want from a car at this level when it comes to technology, but it's just the design and the layout as well. These Bowers and Wilkins speakers, look at the tweeters up there, they're beautiful, but the seat design, you can get the crazy sort of bucket seats from, I guess, the V12 Vantage, which are very good looking, but probably won't be as comfortable. Just love all the stitching, great cup holders, there's a little cubby hole down here, I guess for wireless charging. It's a really nice place to be, but you feel enclosed. It's got that sporty nature of being an enclosed cockpit, but it also feels very spacious, I think because of this massive old central tunnel. So yeah, for me, whilst maybe they went a bit soft with exterior design, in the sense that the back end still just looks like a DB11, even though they keep getting cross with me for saying that. In here, it's, well, and this is where you spend all your time, right? This is just spectacular, but equally spectacular. I don't know if you can see it. Let me bring up on the navigation here. Can you read that says D2, and that's that road out there, which some of you might know as the GoldenEye road. It's one of my favourite roads in this area. So I guess let's go into Sport Plus, put the old seatbelt on, and have a bit more fun in this wild car. the most iconic section of the D2 then. This is the GoldenEye section. It was used for the James Bond film when Pierce Brosnan was hunting down, was it Ivanka Humpalot? Oh, I made that up. Is that an Austin Powers character?
Who are you, baby? Ivana Humpalot.
I don't know, but anyway, it was a 355 and an Aston Martin DB5. It's a crazy bit of road, which, well, you'd be brave to do it fast, but it's very scenic. And actually, as we slow the pace down ever so slightly, it gives me a chance to talk about kind of the elephant in the room with this car, which is the engine. Because, oh, there's a DB12 doing a spin around. Yeah, this car has a V8 engine, not the iconic V12. Now, there are numerous reasons for this, but most of all, it's to do with packaging. The Merc-derived V8, which has been completely re-engineered with new turbos and extra cooling and a whole load of things to make it, well, very powerful at circa 680 horsepower. Super small, meaning it's basically like front mid. It's way back in the engine bay, so you can lower the center of the gravity, and it's just a perfect place for distribution. Where the V12, well, it's just big and it's heavy. I think it adds nearly 100 kilos to the overall weight of the car, which, well, then suddenly, well, detracts from all the amazing work that Aston have been able to do with this thing. They say that there will never be a V12 in this car. Part of me thinks that maybe they'll do a special edition at some point, or maybe the DBS variant will still have a V12. They do say that the V12 is not dead for them, it's just not going to be seen in the DB12. And I have to be honest, I don't miss it. For me, the last generation V12 from Aston that we saw in the V12 Vantage, the Rapide AMR, etc., was special. But the latest generation hasn't done a lot for me in terms of its turbo nature. And this engine is so powerful. It's outrageous. I don't love the way it sounds. It's a bit for me, but it sounds better on the outside than it does on the inside, I gotta be honest. And it's just so quick. It punches you in the back, and yeah, it does not leave you wanting. Got a tiny bit of a switchback here. As you can see, the brakes. I mean, get the carbon ceramics. I have no idea how much they are, but get them. You're definitely gonna want them. And we've caught up with another DB12, a very good looking one in satin silver. Well, here we are then. It's the end of the day and we are back in Monaco. And you know what? If Aston Martin are trying to target the ultra luxury market with this car, well, I guess they are hoping you're going to end up seeing lots of them here in Monaco. And I'm sure you will. I feel like the DB12 fits in perfectly here. Look at this, GT3, F8. Oh, and look, there's a DB11 Volante. Now, this is my big complaint. From the back, that could be a DB12, like could be a DB12 Volante. I just wouldn't know. And that, I think, is a letdown because this car has moved forward so much. Just do something more for the rear so that if you see it from the back, you know, oh, it's a DB12. From the front, you know. So really maybe a niche complaint, but it's such a good car, this car. I want people to realise that they're looking at one. I tell you, the main thing is it gets me super excited for next generation Vantage. Because I've never really been a DB guy. I like the smaller Astons, the Vantages. And if they've made this much progress with this car, God, the new Vantage is going to be right up my street. So yeah, bravo Aston, we're getting plenty of looks as we drive around town back to the hotel. There's a lot of photographers now running over to get photos. You won't be able to see them for the GoPro, but yeah, it's been an awesome day. Any other things to note? The wing mirrors, beautifully designed. Don't love the sound of the engine from the inside. I think I already mentioned that, didn't I? But yeah, overall, big thumbs up. If you're an Aston guy, you're going to be ecstatic. If you've been tempted, it's well worth a test drive. Because I think this is better than the old DBS. I'm going to say that straight away. So yeah, super cool. Anyway, I might do a cheeky lap, see if anything's around, and then head back up to the hotel. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you have. Stay subscribed for plenty more videos to come.